proficient, 48%, and distinguished, 9.5%. And social studies. Same performance, all green flags with the exception of students with disabilities, but this particular subgroup, economic disadvantaged students grew by a margin of 6%. So not only did they meet 3%, they exceeded by 6%. Okay. All right, more specific numbers. Beginning learners of social studies met 37%, developing learners 27%, 26% performed in the proficient learning area, and then 8% advanced or distinguished. So here's where our issue is going to lie this year. How much progress school-wide did we make? Here it shows a 5.7% decrease, not percent, 5.7 decrease within this particular number. All right, math, we actually went up 7.16. ELA, I'm sorry. And then in math, we dropped by 18. Okay. All right, closing the gap, which is another area of our CCRPI. How did the school perform on closing the gaps within our subgroups? School-wide, we dropped by 15.7. So what does all this mean? We still have some areas in which they'll be giving us some data. So our final CCRPI has not arrived yet. But this gives us an overall view. Again, this is what you just saw, school-wide. Of course, this is going to be our focus area. But here's what I want you all to keep in mind. ELA, science and social studies. With the green flags, that means that we made some improvements. Okay? And that's good. We celebrated those this morning. And this is where we're going to put our focus on math. We got a plan of action for that. But what I want you all to be very careful of is not to relax here, here, and here. I've seen it, I've actually been a part of it, where we looked at such performance and we focused in the area like math. But we took our eyes off of the other areas, and what happened? Those areas also have the possibility to decrease if we don't continue to do whatever we have done in years past and continue to make that focus as well. So again, I congratulate ELA, congratulate science, congratulate social studies. But let's be sure that we continue whatever it was that we had in place to make those improvements, because we made a 3% growth. Here you made a 6% growth. So whatever it was that we had in place, let's keep it in mind. Keep it in the forefront. Because the name of the game is, can we make a 3% growth again? So our target will increase again next year by 3 points. So again, let's look at what we have in place. What is it that we can do, one, to maintain it, but also what can we do to ensure that we continue to grow in that area? So I will ask you all this question. For those that have the green flags, what was it that contributed to your growth in those areas? Think about that. What is it that we had instructionally in place that contributed to our growth? What is it going to take to continue to see the growth that we're seeing? I mean, ELA, you had the growth. Was it the reading during the day?
No doubt that helped.
And those are the types of questions that we have to ask ourselves, because now we got to force ourselves to continue to grow. So I'm asking every department to think back what it was that you all had in place, because you see the results there. And once we figure out what that was, let's be sure that we don't kick it to the side.
I'm sorry about the year, but I can't have another year like last year. It was me and Ms. Conaway double teaming in this room right here. So only thing we can do right now is make sure that we train Logan to do those strategies, because that was a headache last year.
That was a kind of conversation that we really gotta have if we expect to see these types of results again. And push yourself as far as you want to, because you also want to see you can put stars in those particular green areas, green flags as well. And the same thing for social studies. Think back to whatever instructional practices we had in place, keep them there, and improve based on what we have. So what is it going to take to see that continuous growth throughout all our content areas? Okay?
Just curious, do you think USA Test Prep is a big help?
Because we use it from the beginning. We didn't wait till the end of the year. So with science, we actually started using it 2 years ago when Nikki first said how they revamped the program. That's when we started seeing progress. So I
mean, I
think
know
it
it's
does.
real helpful with econ, but I didn't
Yeah.
know if it was kind of.
It's helpful for science,
the
but
board.
you
It's
can't
helpful
wait
for
till the
ELA.
end
Social studies too.
to do it. Yeah, I think it will work across the board if we do it the right way instead of wait till the end to do a boot camp.
Right,
It's
right,
not
right.
the kids gonna get tired of. So
I think the big thing is matching the level of the assessment and instruction to what they're gonna be tested on in there, because I mean, we can, unfortunately, everything does come down to those test scores at the end, the way that we're measured, so I think USA Test Prep helps out with that. I think it can actually, you know, we look at it for the kids, but the way I looked at it is almost like a guideline for myself and how I should kind of measure, like, we're fixing to move into, you know, reading of mice and men in 9th grade, and it's like, how do we incorporate the same level of rigor in our assessments to that? You know, we can kind of look at those types of questions and create our questions in a similar fashion from there. So it is helpful for us in that regard too. And I think that's just the biggest thing, is making sure that that level is the same across all classrooms, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th.
But with social studies, we pull directly from USA Test Prep because of
We will too.
the type of question, the DOK level, and it lets you, it tells you what DOK level is. Then you look at your standard and you align your test question with your standard from USA Test Prep, and it matches up well, and that's something to benefit. But like Ms. Prosser was saying, we can't wait. I think Ms. Prosser said we can't wait till the end of the year to try to shove USA Test Prep down the throat, because they're gonna resist that.
Yeah.
But we use it as the year goes on, and they know what kind of questions they are. They know the rigor of it, and then now they got to the point where now like, hey, coach, the question coming off USA Test Prep, and they got access to it, and they go on it, and they go to the resources, and they go to all the different sites and stuff. So a lot of kids are now saying, you know what, if we're gonna be tested on USA Test Prep, I'm going on there and I'm gonna study that, use those resources to do well on the test. And I got several students that.
So you're just consistent with it, is what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Yes.
as long as you're consistent, I think it pays off in the end. And I know you're gonna get some resistance at first. The kids are like, this is too hard, but they can do it. Even the students with disabilities can do it. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I had some, and I think the reason why we have a red flag is because some students came back and told me that they were just giving the answers on the assessments, which is not fair. I mean, I understand we gotta have some kind of accommodations for them, but giving them the answer is not an accommodation. Because they still have to think, because they still have to take that same test. And I know this is not your fault, because you just know. I'm just saying. I'm just saying it's just to be honest with it.
Those are some very good points, because it sort of reminds me of some things that I did when I was teaching, and I refer to 8th grade, when I was teaching over at the middle school. I had first arrived. I was on the orange team, Ms. Ingham, she was on the purple team, and I know you all had some elite students. You don't have to be there, I know. But when we prepared, I did some of the same things that you all are talking about now. It was the CRCT, but I started exposing those kids to those types of questions, even if we had not gone over the subject matter at that point. They were still given the questions earlier, so they were already exposed to it. They knew the types of questions that they would see on the exam. So come test time, myself and Ms. Hall, who was the other social studies teachers, we saw good test results because the kids were prepared. So I think that's the name of the game. So it's allowing them to see what type of question they're going to be exposed to, and exposing them to the DOK levels, higher DOK levels in the classroom. I think that speaks volume about what it is you all need to do, we need to do to prepare our kids. So I think it will only be a benefit to us. So we think that USA Test Prep is one of the resources that we have in place. By all means, let's continue to utilize it.
Do we have all content areas using it?
Everybody that requested it, we purchased it this year. There were like 2 other contents that asked. There was, thank you, it's American Lit.
Well, Ms. Brown's good. We added what everything that needed to be added. There was one that we let go, and I think it was a math.
I think we let that.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is a plan in place to expose our kids as much as possible. If drill and practice is the name of the game, then by all means, let's continue to do that. And whatever else you'll think of that will result in higher performance. Again, even though we have red flags here, we still have so much room for improvements, but we already have a plan in place. We've already been working with the math department, and we're going to present our plan, our 4 or 5 day plan to the math department as well. Okay? Questions about CCRPI? So we're even though that those red flags exist, we know why it happened. Some of it is not due to our teachers. Some of it was due to some other reasons. But then again, when I look at it overall, we have a lot of reasons to celebrate here. So I encourage you all to continue doing what you're doing. You're doing some good instructional practices to get to this point. This is not easy. Okay, see, this is the type of growth, school-wide, that's not easy. So I do commend all of you all that play a role into it, continue to do the good work that you're doing. Now, we'll continue to provide resources and assistance where needed right here. Now, I want to tell you all this, be prepared. I'm not sure if it will happen or not. I'm not sure what this overall score would be. But if it's not, we did not meet the target, after 3 years, they place someone from the State Department in our school. So just be prepared for that if these green flags are not enough to carry the entire school. So let's just be prepared for that. If it happens, it's gonna happen, we'll just take the assistance they provide and we'll move on. One thing that we're gonna do though is that we're not gonna wait until they get here before we start to work on our areas of needs. Okay, so just be prepared for that. I hope it doesn't happen, but just in case, because this will be year 3, the state does say 3 years of not meeting our target, they place a representative from the State Department at our schools to help with instruction purposes. Okay, so just keep that in the back of our mind. Again, it all depends on that final school. These are some other areas, that they took away the extra points that we used to receive for CCRPI. They took it and they spread it in these particular areas. Literacy, student attendance, accelerated enrollment, there was one other. College and career readiness. As far as literacy, they look at the number of students that meet our Lexile cutoff area, the midway point. But there's a range that students in ninth grade lit and American lit, if they meet a certain Lexile on the milestone, they will receive additional points for that. I think it was 11 something for ninth grade, and it was a 1285.
I think it was 1150 and 1275 or something.
1275. So if they reach those particular Lexile on the milestones, then they receive the credit, we receive the credit for having that number of students reach the midway point. Remember, that's a stretch, and that 1150 or that 1275 is the halfway point. So if they meet that, they actually receive points for it. So let's continue to encourage them. Again, reading was part of the process that allowed us to see the performance that we did. Let's continue to encourage that. Student attendance. We'll have to continue to look at it, but number of students that miss less than 10 days affects our CCRPI. As you can see right here, it actually went down. But also go back up, you notice that our literacy went up 2.82 points. Okay? Number of students enrolled in accelerated enrollment. So I think it's AP courses, dual enrollment, what else? It's not honors, it's dual enrollment, AP, it's one other area that we receive credit. We don't even have it.
So it just goes to,
So. But then again, they're looking only at our 12th graders. So even though they start tracking them in ninth grade, they look at our number of 12th graders that have completed courses in dual enrollment, completed courses in advanced placement. Okay? Only, it doesn't count until they're in 12th grade, they complete 12th grade. And then finally, college career readiness. Now, this says number of students that complete pathways. First starting with academic pathways and technical college system of Georgia and university system of Georgia. Question, does this also include our two-year colleges? Because this was included on ball line.
It should include our two-year colleges like East Georgia. I don't know if it does, but it should.
it's part of university system of Georgia.
The two-year colleges do fall upon the university.
But we did see a growth here as well. Number of students that's entering school without needing reading remediation, 32.85%. Number of students that has a ready score to enter college from the ACT, SAT. Again, we were talking about this earlier in the CTE meeting. Number of students that complete the inter pathway assessment. And as well as the number of students that are enrolled in work-based learning as well. So how do what you are doing CTE affect our CCRPI? Here it is. As well as the number of students that completed pathway. Whether it's academic, CTE, fine arts, world language. Okay.
I'm just curious, is that score represented by only the ones that were tested or the ones that, I just wonder,
This is represented by those that are tested only.
not by the
Up
ones
here,
that
it's represented by those that complete the pathway. So we get points for each category. So the more that we have tests and pass, the more that it will affect our CCRPI. More students we have completed pathway, the more it will affect our CCRPI. And I think we're well underway the way we're rolling it out with our ninth graders now, and the way that we are pushing it out to all of our students to complete a pathway. just mentioned a moment ago, we have students that are like dark